Chat, we got a good one. We got a fun one. Let's, why are you down here? You should just not be in this thing. Sorry, chat. We're getting it all figured out. We don't need to put you up here anymore. You got you? And then we can move this down a bit. Okay. All right. Inarguably, one of the hardest TAM talks that I've ever had to develop. And I don't know if it was difficult because I was watching r/place and watching some streamers do that, or if it was just like a tough concept to like really buckle down. But today we're talking about card counts. Big shout outs to Crown X for giving us the suggestion here. Good TAM talk would be to delve into card counts and why you would want to run 4 copies, 3 copies, 2 copies, and such. It's something I see new players ask in various TCGs from time to time. Got a lot of stuff. So if you guys have any suggestions for TAM talks that you want me to talk about in the future, all you got to do is go over to my Discord, and I have a whole pin thing that says video ideas, and if it's good enough and I can expand upon a thought, then I certainly will. So what is the idea? What is this going to be, right? So I already did a bit of an idea of this when I did the almost 3.5 hour long stream of the new cards from Crimson Rampage, which at time of recording we just got a release date. So if you haven't, please go pre-order. I suggest unfun stuff. Of what staples, very playables, mid tiers, one pieces, and either 2 tiers of like, hey, how many copies of this card are you normally going to be running in decks? And I also made like a small tier list of like what characters you there's support the best and so on and so forth. But this idea is a thing that you should have inside when you are deck building of like how many of this cool ability, how many of this difficulty, how many of this check, how many of this block do I want, right? Because cards are useful in 4 places in the game, right? The 4 main places of the game that I think about when I think about the utility of a card is I think about how good is it in the card pool, how good is it in your hand, how good is it on top of your deck, and how good is it in your stage, right? And if it hits at least 3 of these spots, right? If it hits at least 3 of these spots, it's a good card. If it hits all 4, it's a great card, right? You take for example, an example of a great card is something along the lines of it can't be fixed, right? It's a 0 diff, beautiful in your card pool, great spam. It's a 5 check, fantastic. It's a 1 high block, love blocking with it. It's got an amazing ability to the point where that card, just having that card on your board, says that sometimes your opponent doesn't like do things. But is it a 4 of? Is it a 4 of for all time? Is it a 4 of? Right? And so I've got some ideas and some quick little buzzwords for the ideas of card counts. And that is the 4 phrases are is the card needed? Is the card wanted? Is the card nice? Is the card niche? And there are differences between these cards, and over the course of the life of a card, over the course of the format, over the course of how the game works, these cards are going to find their different spots, right? We're currently in a set 1 meta, right? We have 180 cards that we get to play with, and you only get to play with a 12th of that 180 cards, right? And all symbols are not made equal, right? So essentially, Tam's decision of it's a 4X is how versatile the card is. That is a factor, not the factor. That is a factor, not the factor. Well, we're getting into it. So the big thing that I have whenever needeth a Thoris to warnify to need a word that starts with in instead of wanted. Yeah, I could not find one. Could not find one that I wanted. Hilarious. As we are talking about these cards, right? As we're bringing it through, the idea of where your card counts really lie is how often do you want to see these cards, right? And I think this is my next slide. So when you look at the needed pile, these are cards that are needed for your deck to work, right? If you're looking at something like a Stronger in Darkness, this is an automatic 4 of in a deck that you commit your character most of the time, right? You look at your Tokoyamis, you look at your Ochakos, you look at your Midnights. These are decks that, like, on their face, constantly want themselves committed. Even though it shares the evil symbol with Nomu, you would never play Stronger Darkness in the needed category, right? So as you were deck building, as you were finding, like, I want to have 4 of this card on the board at all time, right? If I draw 4 Hardened Jabs even on turn 2, I get to play them all. That card is so good. I need that card. Not only did that is I get to rebuild cards, and I've got other tactics inside of my deck that make my Hardened Jab better. This is a 4 of in pretty much every deck that can run it. Same thing with like, I put Passing Torch on here because it's really good for Midoriya 1, right? Like, if you're playing a deck, you play 4 Passing Torch. This is how it works, right? You have to. Most of the time, the card's only a wanted card, right? Like, you only want 4 of it. In Eraserhead, you have to have 4 erase. You don't get away with 2. It's not a, oh, it's nice if I found this. This is nice. Oh, look, an erase. No, that's not how it works. It's a nice, or maybe even a niche in everybody else, but inside of Eraserhead, it's a need. Your wanted piles. Your wanted piles are piles that I'm down to see this, but if I actually, like, ripped 4 of these into my hand, it would not feel very good. And the only card on here that I'm actually a little suspect about is actually Sticky Balls. This is the prime example of, as the format grows and evolves, and as it moves on and we have more card pool selections, the value of Sticky Balls is going to diminish and diminish and diminish, right? Like, I think that Sticky Balls, while that is a good card, it is a 3/5 unique with a 2 mid-block that is fantastic on the board, but it's only okay in hand, right? It's not a 1, it's not a 0. It's tough to play, and it has the unique keyword, so it's not even it's not even amazing in stage. It's just really, really good, right? I can't just, like, jam 2 of these down. It's not like a creepy realization or something, right? And so these cards, I want to see them inside of my gameplay, and so I'm gonna raise the number that I'm putting inside of my deck. Same thing with these needed cards. I'm just raising the number. I gotta, if I want to put all of these in my deck is minimum. If I put all 4 of these cards in the same deck because we're all similar or whatever, I'm playing at least 16 cards in my deck. I have to. Not to mention all the other, as we trickle down, the nice to haves. These are not linchpins. These are not make or breaks. These are, oh, sweet. I found a pull no punches. This is awesome. Oh, a self-sacrifice. I'd love to jam that on my board. Oh, I have a flip foundation. This Glamorous is going to be great. Ooh, that thing's annoying. Here's my apathetic. These are the a lot of these happen to be, the nice to haves feel a lot like your outs, right? I'm playing to get out of an issue, right? Oh man, I'm in deadlock. It'd be really nice to have a self-sacrifice right now. Man, I'm staring down that specialized sound wave or specialist of sound. I would love to apathetic that. Pull no punches. We're in deadlock. Man, I need to snap some momentum right now. I wish I had a pull no punches on board. Right? It'd be nice to have these. You know, they keep minusing my speed. Glamorous is great. And these are your need to haves. But, like, having 4 Glamorous in your deck, like, it doesn't actually perpetuate your game state at all. Like, it doesn't actually make the game better. Like, if I just, like, build 3 Glamorous on turn 1, like, what am I doing? Is that actually helping me? No, they just turn them sideways. They accidentally have a good flip, but, like, the card's fine. It's nice to have. And then lastly, here's your niches. A lot of these are one-ofs, right? Cool student, fulfilled my duty, capabilities, rescue completed. If you notice, I didn't put any unique foundations on here because 9 times out of 10, unless I guess you're sticky balls, your unique foundations are your niches, right? Especially whenever we're looking into set 2, there's gonna be a lot more niches, things like spooky, things like aiming to be number 1 or whatever that card's called. There's a lot of really good niche cards, and I think these are prime examples of suitable niche cards. Cool student, stunning one of. Capabilities, great one of. Fulfill my duty. I know a lot of people are very high on this card. I think this card sucks, but I think it's really niche. I think you win the back of it. Gizan in the comments says rescue completed. Could see being nice to have, and I totally agree. I completely agree. I think that rescue completed could be in this slot. It definitely could. But I think as the game evolves, we're not going to be reliant so hard on rescue completed, right? So as of right now in set 1, the way that you get to categorize, and a lot of these TAM talks are all about, like, you discovering and you understanding your deck in a better sense, and you categorizing how you want to see your deck, and looking at it. And I've given a bunch of Thank you. I needed that. I've given a bunch of TAM talks about a lot of categories because that's like how my brain works and how I see it. Like I've talked about the jobs of cards. I've talked about unlocking the potential of your deck using techniques, tactics, strategies, principles, right? We've talked about that. And now we're talking about like card counts. And it really is all based around the fact of like, how badly do you need to see this card? How badly do you want to see this card? Is this card nice to have? Is this card iffy, right? And so the differences that we have, I'm not drinking again. The differences that we have inside of these, inside of set 1, because we are so small, is the fact that like everything is actually forcing more upwards, right? It is every card feels like a needed, and I'm even a proponent of this inside of set 1. I think it's better to have more needed cards, and the more needed a card is, the more likely you'll see it, the more consistent it is. But as we see through the as we progress through the format, things will change. A lot of times as we get through these, your needed cards should probably be wanted cards. Your wanted cards should probably be nice cards. And your niche cards are probably just bad. Whenever we go back to Fulfilled, I think this card, we get 2 formats down the line, or even in set 2, I don't know how often I'm slotting this card. And so as you understand how your deck works, as you understand how the game, the meta evolves, this all changes. But at the same time, and this is why this is so hard, like, it changes from deck to deck, because like Stronger in Darkness is a bad card in 90% of the decks. I wouldn't play that in Bakugo. It's a great spam though, Tam. Why? Sometimes your character's committed. Yeah, but I'm committing this one before it. Right? And so like this truly is subjective. This truly is subjective when it comes to the deck building, right? I refuse to believe capabilities is bad. But it is. It is a bad card. It is a bad card. And by bad, I mean it's niche, right? I know right now I'm seeing some people play Shigaraki with 3 of capabilities in their main board because they want to have that card on board. And that is how they feel about it, right? And once again, it's just a way to classify, to categorize the cards that you have inside of your deck and justify your reasonings, right? So that you can go to your teammates, you can go to people, you can go to the deck doctor that we're going to do today here on stream. If you're interested, go to patreon.com and be like, yo, I really want to have this card so bad in my deck. I really, really want Manly Passionate Guy to be in my hand. I want that on turn 1. But I don't need it to win the game, right? I'm not playing a crazy Manly Passionate Guy OTK mill out strategy or whatever, right? And so here is where things need to go. I am infamous for playing very large decks. A lot of people disagree, and they want to have a thinner deck for a thinner for more consistency, right? But as the game, if you want to slim down your deck, we'll say this: as you want to slim down your deck, all you have to do is take your neededs and put them into wanted. Your wanted's a nice to niche to sideboard, as opposed to calling them bad cards. I'm sorry for calling them bad cards. Just put them in your sideboard. They are not necessary in every single event. They're not necessary in every single matchup, but they do feel good in order to bring in the particular ones, right? Like, if we can go all the way back to Fulfill My Duty, I don't think I would mainboard that card, but if you slam 3 of it in versus a Staff Strike deck, you're going to feel very good. Like, it is a good niche card, and that card is very wanted in that matchup. I don't think it's needed, but it's very wanted in that matchup, and so that's a way that you can look at your sideboard. And so now that we're on the topic of sideboards, when you talk about your deck count, your sideboard is a perfect place to take your niche and nice cards and turn them into wanted needed cards. Right? A lot of times I see tape as a needed, and I believe that tape going into set 2 is a wanted card, and you just sideboard it in case it is a needed card. If I'm playing a if my opponent's playing a mono low deck and I need to make my high blocks relevant, then I should put the wanted tape into a needed slot and then pull it in. And maybe I take out some of my niche options. We've talked about sideboarding as our last Tam Talk, I'm pretty sure. And so, like, this is the way that we get to sideboard when we talk about making our game plan more solid or disrupting our opponents. A lot of disruption happens to be in the nice category. The only difference between these two words is just the letter H. It's messing me up. And so, if you want to reduce the size of your deck, it is okay to take these cards and just shove them in your sideboard, even if it means that you're technically weaker against some matchups in game one. Nietzsche? No. Nietzsche. Let's talk about the future. So here is where I think that understanding the place of need, want, nice, and niche are. Currently, in this game, we have 30 playable characters, 30. When set 2 comes out, I don't know how many we have. It's at least 40, maybe 45, maybe even 50, genuinely. And that I think 50 might include like the bonus characters that we're getting in plus Ultramax and so on and so forth. It's really hard to tech against 50 different characters. And it's really hard to tech against 3 symbols for 50 different characters. We're going to have what? At minimum, 150 decks that you could play against at any event. Asterisks, some decks are unplayable, right? I can't play All Might 4 under Death. It's just not possible. 59. If I make my deck full of needs, if we come all the way back here and we make our deck so full of needs, this is going to be a well-oiled machine. It's going to be very, very good at doing the one thing that it does. It finds a bunch of 4-ofs. It finds all these Stronger Darknesses. It finds all these cards that are just good flow, good aggro cards. And then you're going to meet against a Nomu, and then you're going to meet against an Eraserhead, and then you're going to meet against a Kirishima 1 before he was errated. And you're going to find this this wall that your needed cards can't break through, and you don't have any nice to have niche cards to round it out. I think the idea of 2-ofs of these nice to have cards is the perfect number, right? If you take and you reduce your consistency by just a little bit, and you widen your net, you now have so many different options that you get to play against. We're going to have a 9-round tournament here versus the potential, and I'll be generous, right? We've got 30 characters in the game in set 1. I think 15 of them are competitive enough to win, right? We saw Denki win the last one, and he was on nobody's list. Is it possible that people have their decks too rock solid for consistency's sake, and they don't have any nice to have cards against Denki? Everybody's teching for Jiro. Everybody's teching for Eraserhead. Everybody's teching for Nomu, right? Because these are the big bads of the format. But what happens when a Shoji accidentally shows up and takes down an event? What happens when you sit down across from Midoriya 1 and you don't have these tools? You're gonna lose. You lose 2 of these games and you're out. I think the future is going to be all about understanding that your needed cards, your wanted cards, your nice cards, your niche cards, they need to slim down. They need to. And you need to open up your options, but still be able to use these cards in specific ways, right? If we look at cards, and I don't have it on the board, if you look at cards like Confused is a perfect, nice card. Card's never going to be wanted. Card's never going to be needed. Beautiful sideboard card. Beautiful. If we look at, what's the other Ochako card? The 2/4. I forget the name of it. The one that says your attack's damage can't be reduced. Nobody's ever needed that card. You're going to jam 4 of that card on your deck, on your board, and be like, I feel safe. And you'll never resolve them all. I see this all the time. I see people die with abilities on their board. You shouldn't die with abilities on your board, right? All your cards should be flipped at the end of the game. There's an asterisk there, obviously, right? Like you see the if you died with a ready capture evildoers, not capture evildoers. What's the foundation? 2/5, 2 high block. If you block, remove that card, gain 2 health. That's not capture evildoers. Villains defeated. That's the name of that card. If you died with the villains defeated on the board, did you really do everything that you could in the match to win? Right? Yeah, we cleared their card pool 1, but I gained my health. Right? They lost the resource, so on and so forth. Like there's a thought process there that you should be having, and I don't think that Villains Defeated is a needed card. I don't think it's a wanted card. It's a nice card. Maybe in certain symbols it wants to be closer to wanted, but I don't think that card's ever needed. You understand what I'm saying, chat? Do you get it? So what are my thoughts? I think that the highest level of gameplay is going to be capitalizing on this needed to wanted level. I think inside of most decks, you're at most you're going to have 2 copies of a card that are going to be needed, and everything else is going to slim out. Even as we've seen my deck building streams, I don't play a lot of 4-ofs in my decks. I just don't. I do play thicker decks. I do play bigger decks because I like the wide options. I don't like being caught defenseless versus some specific matchups. And even then, like, what's their plan? I can't even see that as a niche card. Honestly, it's just sideboard. It's a sideboard card that turns into a nice card whenever I decide to put them in. And when it comes to siding these cards, I think that like pulling your niche cards out, or pulling your like wanted cards out in order to put different ideas of wanted cards in is good. Is good. I think that is where the game should be. I think the biggest issue that a lot of people have is that they're obsessed with the top tier and the meta while also trying to keep decks slim to be consistent. I agree with that. And I do think that 50, like a 50 count deck is wrong. I don't believe that is the right move. I think that 50 count decks lose to good defense decks, right? Like I don't know what a 50 count deck does against like a good solid Todoroki 1. What do? You just lose, right? Like having a single negate over and over again, you just don't build up enough of a stage. You cycle too quick. I don't think it works personally, and I don't think it works consistently across the board. Maybe your deck. So I was we all know I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh player, right? Or I used to be, at least. I was sitting down with a friend, and I was talking about my deck, and my deck is really strong. It's really powerful, but inconsistent, right? And it has really high highs, but sometimes every once in a while it hits a dip. It dips low, and then it comes right back up the high. It's really sick, and then sometimes I break, and then I'll come back up, and it's really good. And he goes, "You need to take out the cards that do this." Right? We'd rather be more in the middle, more upper middle, right? Like a 60-70% rather than a 90 and then a 30, right? Sitting at 60, 65, 70 is way better than 90, 30, because during that 30, you just lose. You just lose because their deck's at 70. You just lose. Consistency doesn't win games. Consistent consistency wins games, right? And so when you are making your deck, think about like what is the most consistently consistent way that I can play the game and get through it, and a way that we can understand how my deck can be consistently consistent is understanding what my piles of cards are. What are they doing? But that's just my thoughts. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below over on Twitch. I'm going to talk with Twitch chat for just a little bit, and get their opinions. See if I missed anything, and see if I can come back to the topic maybe a little bit later. Once again, I thought this was really, really hard to cover because there are a lot of nuances when it comes to deck building. Like we didn't even get into the idea of like every time you play a card, you discard the top card of your deck. We didn't even get it. Yeah, Yasin in the chat says most games draw 1 a turn. We don't. We draw 7. You draw 7 cards, and that's the mechanic of the game. And so there's a lot to be had, a lot to be discovered. And so I would love to know your guys' thoughts as we chat. If you enjoyed this, make sure you do the cool YouTube stuff, leave the like, subscribe to the channel, and so on and so forth. Thank you guys for watching the video. I greatly appreciate it. And with that said, I wish you well.